Okay, this is the summary of Siman Tafresh Ayin Ches that we've been working on of Hilchos Chanukah, of what comes first, Ner Chanukah or Ner Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos quotes a Rava who says that someone who is poor and can only afford Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah should purchase Ner Shabbos because of Shalom Bayis. Footnote 2, or someone who is in a remote area and only has one candle. That's what Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's point, which could in fact happen. So the idea is that Ner Shabbos becomes before Ner Chanukah. Why Shalom Bayis? What is Shalom Bayis? So ask your average Orthodox Jew who knows nothing about this sugya and the Siman and Shulchan Aruch at all, and they will say it means peace in the house. But how does that apply over here? That Ner Shabbos increases peace in the house. What's the idea of that? So Rashi explains that the people in his house will be pained if they have to sit in their house in the dark. Therefore, Ner Shabbos should be purchased so that they will be able to see in their house. This is obviously talking about when there's no electricity. So the only way to see would be is if they have light in the house through the Ner. Now, footnote 3. Oh boy, big one. According to the Meiri, the explanation of Shalom Bayis is due to the fact that the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbos Neirus was given over to women. If she won't be able to fulfill the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos, she will come to quarrel with her husband. Rashash offers a similar explanation and adds that this coincides with the Gemara in Shabbos that says that due to three sins, women die during childbirth: Nida, Chala, and Hadlakas Haner. Similarly, Rashash asks why Rashi suggests this reason that people will be in pain to sit in the dark. Rather, when Rava said this halacha, the word bayis refers to one's wife. So when it says ner beiso, it's referring to a wife, as it says in the Gemara, as in Masechah Shabbos. Three things: a woman would be liable to die during childbirth, and one of them is not lighting candles. Therefore, if she is not able to light Shabbos candles, machlokes, an argument will result because this could lead to her death. Chas v'shalom. So that's another reason of Shalom Bayis, this whole idea, which is that she will be upset if she cannot perform the mitzvah which was given over to her, aka Ner Shabbos, even though men and women have the same exact obligation. The mitzvah was given over to women, as we will learn in Yisrael Hashem and Siman Reish Samach Gimel 263. With Harfinus, Charles Shuvas and Shmashal Chil Kal Siman Shin Hey offers additional reasons for lighting Ner Shabbos. That would be Kavod and Oneg Shabbos. Kavod and Oneg Shabbos means Oneg and Kavod Shabbos, honoring and Shabbos, right way. Okay, Emes Yaakov, his commentary to Chumash, Sefer Shmos, Mem Aleph, Tes Zion, asks why would Shabbos candles override Chanukah candles? What about Persumei Nisa publicizing the miracle? Isn't that important? So he has his whole chiddush that says the Kavod Oneg Shabbos overrides Persumei Nisa. As we see, the Shabbos candles enable us to uplift the physical to make it spiritual. Eating on Shabbos is main olam haba. It's similar to the next world. This is what the Avos exemplified. They were always talking about Hashem. Yosef Sad, they constantly invoked Hashem's name. This is why Shabbos candles proceed. In other words, Shabbos comes first. Why? The answer is because bringing up this world, everything in this world, and making it spiritual. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach is unsure what the halacha would be for someone single or someone without their spouse. Seemingly, the reasoning of Shalom Bayis wouldn't apply, at least according to Rashi. However, it could be that the rabbi said low plug, and thus, even in this scenario, Ner Shabbos would come first. So, this is if there's a whole discussion of someone's living by themselves, so you don't have the Shalom Bayis reason. So, could be still they said low plug, there's no difference, and this wouldn't apply just according to Rashi. According to the Meiri, it would still apply. Right? Meiri, who said that the mitzvah was given over to women, right? So it still would apply to them. Back up top, the Gemara then relates that Rava was unsure if someone can only afford Ner Chanukah or Kiddush, which one would come first? Would Kiddush proceed, since it is more common, Tadir, or would Ner Chanukah come first because of Persumei Nisa, publicizing the nace? Rava then answered that Ner Chanukah will come first because of Presuming Nisa. Torah and Shulchan Aruch ruled this way as well. Beis Yosef asks, so that's the hierarchy in terms of this order. Okay, so you have Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah, and then Kiddush. And Ner Chanukah would override Kiddush because Presuming Nisa is more important, publicizing the Nes. More important than Tadir. Torah and Shulchan Aruch rule this way as well. Beis Yosef asks, wouldn't Kiddush come before Ner Chanukah? Since Kiddush is Daraisa, obligation from the Torah, and Ner Chanukah is only Darabanan, rabbinically, the rabbinic obligation. He answers that since it's possible to say Kiddush on Chala, Ner Chanukah would proceed. Bach says it is implied from this Beis Yosef that Kiddush is Daraisa only if done on one Ner Chala. If it is done on one Ner Chala. Or Bach argues with this. One can verbally fulfill his Daraisa obligation of Kiddush. In other words, one does not need wine or Chala to fulfill his obligation of Kiddush mid-Daraisa. Accordingly, someone who doesn't have wine or challah would still purchase Ner Chanukah first. Reason for this is since both Ner Chanukah and Kiddush are derabanan, Ner Chanukah would proceed because of the Persume Nisa reason. Torah writes, so so if you don't have both, Ner Chanukah would still come first. Still Persume Nisa. Torah writes regarding Havdalah that Ner Chanukah will come first, since it is possible to say Havdalah in Shmona Esrei. Same idea. Or it doesn't say the Chanukah proceeds because of the Presuming Nisa reason. The truth is, even though Havdalah is Daraisa, nevertheless one can fulfill his obligation verbally Midaraisa, similar to Kiddush is all the Bach. Havdalah on wine is only a rabbinic obligation. When the Torah said that Havdalah is done in Shmona Esrei, this means that Havdalah can be verbally accomplished without wine. It was enacted that Havdalah should be said in Shmona Esrei. One can still fulfill his obligation of Havdalah not in Shmona Esrei. That's all the Bach. Magen Avraham explains that one should only buy one Ner for Shabbos. And the remaining money should go to Ner Chanukah, so it'd only be one Ner. Similarly, one should only purchase one Ner Chanukah, and the remaining money should be used for Kiddush. Kiddush is only a rabbinic obligation, therefore Kiddush comes before extra Neros on Chanukah, which is only a Hiddur. So why do you only buy one Ner Chanukah and the remaining money used for Kiddush? The answer is
Fulfilling the minimum.
exactly, that's the minimum. And Kiddush is a Chiyav derabanan, but additional Neros is only a Hiddur, it's only preferable. So you gotta figure out your list of priorities and what's important. Magen Avraham then says that it's possible that nowadays, since we light the menorah inside, one should purchase Ner Chanukah before Ner Shabbos, since we'll be able to see from the light of the menorah. So this is why nowadays that we light inside, maybe Ner Chanukah will come before Ner Shabbos. Even though it's prohibited to eat in front of the light of the menorah, because it is prohibited to benefit from the light of the menorah, nevertheless, since it's impossible, another way, this case is considered like a dangerous time, which the halach is that placing the menorah on a table is adequate. Yishalvam relates that earlier Rabbah, and the simple understanding of the Shulchan Aruch and Ramah is not that way. Similarly, Pri Chadash holds that this wouldn't be recognizable that this is being lit as an Ner Chanukah. Rather, they hold that even nowadays Ner Shabbos should be purchased before Ner Chanukah. The Shibur also holds this way, not like the Magen Avraham. Aruch Shulchan rules in a pressing situation one can rely on the Magen Avraham. The reason for this is some hold that for mitzvah purposes one is allowed to use the light from the menorah. The Shabbos Suda is certainly mitzvah. One should light close to the door so it will be recognizable that it is being lit for Chanukah. So really we hold that you can't even use it for mitzvah purposes, but pressing situation. This is another major factor that there is another major factor that according to most poskim changes halacha nowadays. since, and this is really based on this Magen Avram also, since we have electricity, according to most poskim, Ner Chanukah would be purchased before Ner Shabbos, see section below. There's another important point which must be made. All of this only applies to someone who has challah. However, if someone doesn't have challah, then you must purchase a challah first for the first two sudas of Shabbos and not for Shalosh Shudas. So challah comes first.
Low one out.
So challah comes first. This is an incredibly important point. Footnote 6, Taz Mishnah Brura, Taz and our Siman Mishnah Brura talks about this in Magen Avram, in Siman in Hilchos Kiddush, Reish Ayin Aleph, Oz Gimel. It's brought also the Mishnah Brura. Take a look, also Mishnah Brura Siman Reish Samach Gimel Sif Beis that we learned. In that case, it is preferable for him to buy chal and recite kiddush on challah. His reasoning is in kiddush al makom suda, meaning chal is needed in order for the kiddush to be activated / work. Furthermore, there's an because kiddush has to be in the place where one's having his meal. If you don't have challah, you don't have a meal. Furthermore, there's an obligation to eat bread on Shabbos. Taz holds that lechem mishnah is obligation from the Torah based on a Gemara and pasuk. Lechem mishnah, others argue. And hold that the obligation of lechem is only derabban on the pasuk, and it's only based on the pasuk. It's an asmachta, but nevertheless, it's still an obligation. So for all those reasons, challah comes first. And this was the rip that I gave, that people who just learn the Gemara and don't learn the sugya in depth have no idea what the actual halacha is. They think that Ner Shabbos is first no matter what, and it's not even so simple nowadays that Ner Shabbos is first, because most poskim say that Ner Chanukah is first, because based on that Magen Avram and based on the whole electricity svar. But nevertheless, we'll come to that again. But you see that challah definitely comes first according to all opinions. The Gemara didn't even mention challah. And here's just a short list of what comes first. Challah, Ner Shabbos. We're going to leave it at that. Footnote 8. Nowadays, Maseh Achronim hold that Ner Chanukah comes first since we have electricity. The reasoning of Shalom Bayis is taken care of, even according to Rashi, for sure. According to the Meiri, it doesn't. At least according to Rashi, it's taken care of. According to the Meiri, it would still apply. It would still apply. Fine. Then Ner Chanukah, why? Pursuing Nisa reasoning. Footnote 9, according to Magen Avram, Ner Chanukah. According to Magen Avram, Ner Chanukah would proceed nowadays that we light Ner Chanukah inside. I'm going to use the Hebrew for it, clean it up. That we light Ner Chanukah inside, since one will get light from Ner Chanukah. Others argue on this ruling.
Everybody considers Maria Das Yachid, and that's why they're not worried about him.
It seems like Rashi's just bigger. He's on the page. He's Rashi, you know?
So
yeah, Rashi's the one that made it to halacha. Yeah, exactly. So it's a good point. Okay, then Kiddush will come after Ner Chanukah. Why? Because it's more common. Hadir. Footnote 10. Kiddush is daraisa, but possible to do Kiddush daraisa with challah according to Beisesis. However, Bach holds it is possible to perform Kiddush daraisa verbally. Therefore, challah and wine for Kiddush are only a rabbinic obligation.
Rashi doesn't mention at all the concept of
David say that he had off today, that he was going to come here. Okay. What? Say again?
So Rashi has mentioned at all by Ner Shabbos that there's a concept of the wife's mitzvah. He doesn't mention that at all.
No, Rashi doesn't mention that.
Doesn't mention.
No, that's only in the Meiri.
Because we, nowadays every time we use the term Shalom Bayis, it's always used in terms of. I'm just saying.
He's in the house. I know.
He's in meaning with the wife.
Right.
We always use Shalom Bayis.
Right, for sure.
But the Gemara,
right, in this case,
on Rashi, it's not.
Right.
That's not at all.
Right. No. Yeah, but it has to do with being peace in the house, where it won't be peace if the lights are off.
Understood.
So yeah. So the idea is to find the root of the problem of why there's not peace in the house, and then tackle that, solve that. So it's daraisa proper. It's possible to do kiddush daraisa with challah according to Beisesis. Bach holds it's possible to do kiddush even verbally. So challah and wine for kiddush only rabbinic obligation. Find that's a side point within kiddush, and then havdalah is last. Daraisa, you can fulfill your obligation to Shmoneh Esrei, or verbally mid daraisa. Wine is this only derabanan. Okay. Let's move on. Doesn't Ner Chanukah come first because of Ein Mavir no mitzvah? You can't pass over a mitzvah. Chai Adam asks a very strong question on this entire sugya in Gemara. The mitzvah of Ner Shabbos and Ner Shabbos comes first. Why then did the Gemara say that Ner Shabbos comes before Kiddush? Because of the Shalom Bayis reason. Why didn't the Gemara say that Ner Shabbos comes first because of Ein Mavir no mitzvah? You can't pass over a mitzvah. Mitzvah hits you first, obligation. Furthermore, why did the Gemara say that Ner Chanukah comes before Kiddush because of pursuing Nisa? Why didn't the Gemara say that Ner Shabbos comes before Kiddush because of Ein Mavir no mitzvahs? Tosfos explains, Ein Mavir mitzvahs, Tosfos and Yuma and Lamagima only applies when someone wants to fulfill both mitzvahs. However, Aim of your mitzvahs did not apply to someone who only wants to perform one of the mitzvahs. The Gemara therefore wasn't able to provide the reasoning of Aim of your mitzvahs because in this case you only want to do one mitzvah, so it doesn't apply. Nishmus Adam relates that that's one reason why it wouldn't apply over here. Okay.
What's the one mitzvah you want to do?
The one mitzvah, you only have enough money for one of the mitzvahs, or whatever that mitzvah is.
Oh, okay. So you don't have a second mitzvah applicable.
Yeah. Nishmas Adam relates that if one of the mitzvahs is more common or makudash, holier, then Ein Mavir and Al mitzvahs doesn't apply. Ein Mavir and Al mitzvahs only applies when both mitzvahs are halachically equivalent. Shalsa Chubas Divrei Malkiel. Footnote 13. Halak Aleph or Chaim Siman Yud Zayin Os. Lamed Zayin offers another reason. Ein Mavir and Al mitzvahs only applies to someone who has both mitzvahs in front of him to perform right now. However, if the obligation to perform one of the mitzvahs didn't approach yet, wasn't chal, then in Mavir mitzvah doesn't apply. Thus, in our case, where someone has limited money, there's a doubt as to what the money should be used for. Afterwards, when the obligation to perform the mitzvah falls on him, and he only has wine or a candle, he should certainly fulfill the mitzvah that is in his hand. He isn't considered in an extenuating circumstance regarding the other mitzvah items that he doesn't have. The Gemara therefore wasn't able to use the reasoning of in Mavir al mitzvahs. In other words, it's only if both are in front of you. But if they're not, so then you wouldn't need to. So in this case, they're not in front of you, so to say. These halachas now apply nowadays. In other words, this is the order of Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah switched around due to electricity, as we alluded to before. Nowadays, we have electricity, as we know. Accordingly, the reasoning of Shalom Bayis isn't needed from the Ner Shabbos. For note 14, it seems like, this was your question, it seems like the main understanding that the poskim consider when it comes to determining their psak of the definition of Shalom Bayis is according to Rashi, seeing in the house, not the Meiri, mitzvah of Ner Shabbos belonging to a woman. That was your answer. Footnote 14. Moshe Feinstein in Shalsa Chuvas Igros Moshe Chaim Chelekei Simin Chaf Os Lamed therefore rules that nowadays Ner Chanukah, which is for pursuing Nisa, will come before Ner Shabbos. One should not light the Ner Shabbos in this case instead of Ner Chanukah because of a far-fetched concern that the electricity will get broken. Rav Eliyashav Rav Nisim Karelitz are quoted in the Piskei Shmuos on Chanukah pages Kuf Lamed Hey to Kuf Lamed Vav, as well as in Shvus Yitzchak. I think I actually didn't look that one up. In Dinei Ner Shabbos, Perek Beis Os Dalid, and Ramosha Sternbach also ruled this way as well. Moshe Shemrichel Shalos Shivah Children Hagas Chelik Gimel Simin Reish Tes Vav Os Chaf Aleph. However, Rav Chaim Kanievsky holds that even nowadays, when we have electricity, nevertheless, Ner Shabbos proceeds, and one should not be lenient with this. That is in the Or Yisrael, pages Kuf Yud Zayin to Kuf Yud Ches. What is the bottom line minhag? What's the bottom line custom? It seems like there's a machlokas nowadays if Ner Shabbos comes before Ner Chanukah. Shach writes in Yordeya, Simin Kuf Sadi Os Gimel, Sifkatan Gimel, that She'enu Matsui Ein Shayich Bo Minhag Davar. No, okay. That's messed up. It should say Davar She'enu Matsui. Davar She'enu Matsui Ein Shayich Bo Minhag. Something that is uncommon, you can have a custom on something that is uncommon. There's no custom on something that is uncommon. After I thought about this more and reviewed this sugya more, and after I thought about this more and reviewed this sugya more, it seems that most hold that nowadays Ner Chanukah would come first. Do we sell our clothing to afford Ner Chanukah? Someone who on Erev Shabbos doesn't have money to afford Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah, the halacha is that he must sell his clothing in order to purchase Ner Chanukah. It is the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tuf Reish Ayin Aleph Sif Aleph. Rav Yosef Shalom Kahaneman, that was in the Divrei Harav Chilik Beis and Lakutim Siman Yud Beis, is unsure what the halacha would be according to the implication of the Rambam. It is implied from the Rambam that one is not obligated to sell his clothing to buy Ner Shabbos. Based on this, following question arrives: is someone obligated to sell his clothing in order that he could afford Ner Chanukah? If he sells his clothing, then he will have money. he will need to use his money to purchase Ner Shabbos, which come before Ner Chanukah. Consequently, he sold his clothing for the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos, which he isn't obligated to do. There's a machlokas what to do in this case. Rosh Hashanah rules that it is logical that he must sell his clothing. Even so, he should use the money from the sale for Ner Chanukah, since he's only obligated to sell his clothing for Ner Chanukah. Regarding Ner Shabbos, consider as if he only has clothing, not money. So that is in the Halicha Shlomo and Chanukah, Perik Yud Gimel, Orchos Halacha, footnote Lamed Hey 35. Moshe Feinstein, Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashiv, that was in the Yeshurun Chelik Yud Ches on page Tuf Reish Ayin Ches, which is actually our Siman, argue that and hold 6, 7, 8, and hold that he is obligated to sell his clothing in order to purchase Ner Chanukah. However, after he receives the money, he then becomes obligated to purchase Ner Shabbos instead of Ner Chanukah, so he would transfer the monies. Their halacha quotes Pri Megadim, who rules that one needs to sell his clothing in order to purchase Ner Shabbos as well. Accordingly, there is no question. Number 4, perhaps, that's the Be'er halacha in Siman Reish Samach Gimel Sif Beis. Purchase a Ner, which is kosher for Chanukah, but invalid for Shabbos, which is definitely refutable, as we said yesterday. That's in the Or Yisrael, Dardak on page 118, footnote 474. Miscellaneous. If someone made a mistake and thought that Ner Chanukah came before Ner Shabbos and lit his only candle outside to fulfill the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, but was then informed that he did the wrong halacha and should have used his one candle for Ner Shabbos, then this is considered hekdesh b'taos, that he mistakenly designated something for holy purposes or to the base of Mikdash, and he is able to pick up the lit candle and bring it inside his house to use it for Ner Shabbos Sarachi, and more on that case. Shal Shiva Safar Tsadenia Chelik Al Siman Zayin. Okay, that is the summary of this entire Siman. Amir Hashem. Tomorrow we will begin with a new Siman and a new topic. Everyone should have a wonderful Rosh Chodesh. And Guten Chodesh for Yilchin Lukten Chanukah. And don't forget to have a lavish Suda on today because it's the main day of Rosh Chodesh, second day.
Okay.